Hey, lacrosse friends, welcome once again to Lacrosse Link, your link to all things lacrosse. I'm Steven Stamp, your host. A lot of fun this week. We joined the Courier Brothers talking about the viral videos that they have been making. We take a look at, I think, the very best and most fun of them all. And we take a look at the saga of a President's Cup ring that was stolen, went on its way not too far around the world, but years and years later, thanks to the keen eye and spirit of a young former player, it has made its way now back to its original owner over a decade after it went awry. You're going to want to stick around and enjoy those. Plus, stay tuned for the rundown at the end. Thanks so much, lacrosse friends, for being here. Enjoy the show.
Watch by Danby, a big pick from McGraw and another one. Back to McGraw. He's going to let it rip and scores. Liam McGraw from downtown.
Hey, David, who do we have on the show now?
I'm Josh.
I'm Zach.
And he's Zach.
And he's Josh. And we're the Couriers.
Right. The Couriers. Welcome to Lacrosse Link, gentlemen.
Thanks for having us.
So we are going to take a look at one of the videos you guys have been doing for Warrior Brothers, and we're going to Warrior Brothers for Warrior, the Courier Brothers videos that I think have been really capturing a lot of people's imagination and been a lot of fun. We're going to take a peek at my favorite one. I think it's a lot of people's favorite one, and then we're just going to talk about the videos that we're doing. All right.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Zach.
He's Zach.
And he's Josh.
And we're the Couriers.
What an effort in transition from Courier.
And no one sniffs out a loose ball better than Zach Courier does. Tracks this one on the bounce.
Everyone wants to talk about how great Zach is at ground balls, but no one wants to talk about how he got so great. It started pretty innocently when we were young. I didn't want to chase after the ball, so I trained Zach to chase after them for me. He seemed to really enjoy it, so I guess you could say I started taking advantage of it.
You guys talking about me in here?
Don't worry about it. Sometimes I think I've taken it a little bit too far, but it's helping him with his lacrosse a lot, so really he should be thanking me. Move, that's my spot.
There's an empty chair right here.
Zach, you know that's my spot.
I'm already sitting here.
You're gonna make me do it?
Not gonna work.
You could just move.
Empty chair right here, man.
You really gonna make me do this?
Do it. It's not gonna work.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay, that was a lot of fun. My first question, Zach, how cold was that water?
It was, when were we recording that? March or April. So it had just gotten unfrozen. The sides of it kind of freeze up. So it was not that warm.
I bet. Oh, how many takes did you have to do of that?
I think they made me get in the water 3 times, but for that one, it was the only time I was in the water for that episode.
How did these videos come about? What was the genesis? What was the thought process behind it?
I think that, well, I signed on with Warriors. Zach had been with them for a while. I signed on, and then Zach kind of mentioned that we know someone that's pretty good with the videography and that kind of stuff. So they had him come over, and it kind of just happened where we weren't really planning on doing funny videos at first. They just kind of said, get some content for us. And then the Thompson brothers are pretty funny. So they kind of, they took it and ran with it.
Yeah, give the Thompsons a shout out. You can let us know about their business they've got going in that, because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, Zach, you can take the lead on that one.
So they started a videography company called Bumpy Road Productions. It's Zach Thompson and Jake Thompson. They're both I think it's cinematography majors. I'm not sure what their exact majors were, but they were in it in school. And then Jake and Zach actually both worked for a hunting company together, so they got a ton of experience there, and then decided to go and do their own thing. And if they had it their way, they'd be covering sports 24/7. And they're both lacrosse players growing up, so they know what these teams and companies are looking for. But they do great work, and they do everything from lacrosse to dog food to you name it. So anyone that needs some videography needs, Bumpy Road Productions is where you got to go.
And where did once you started doing the content and you got the idea, somebody had the idea to do these short videos, what was the creative process? Where'd you come up with the ideas? Like, who was suggesting the ideas? And because there's I'm not even sure how many, there's about a dozen of them at this point, right?
Yeah, I think there's a few now, but it was all them. They we did the first couple funny videos, and then from there I think Warrior contacted them to make some more. And then when they came to our place, they had every single script written up. All we had to do was just read from it, and we had a ton of fun with them. I think we spent 2 days filming the one time and got most of the videos out of that. And yeah, it was all them planning and writing the script for all of it.
And what is the setting?
Well, we're at my place, and I think we're about to we might be giving you a sneak peek here. There might be another round coming, and it won't be at our place, but we'll let you guys stay tuned for those ones.
All right, we're going to have some excitement, a bit of a teaser coming up. And how hard was it to get into character when I think it's more challenging than people realize to play yourself as a character, because it's obviously not a lot of the circumstances, a lot of things happening are obviously not what's actually happening in the house on a daily basis. What was it like to become an actor for you guys?
It was pretty fun. And I think the way that Josh and I kind of approached it was that we just put ourselves in our younger selves' shoes and tried to think of what would happen when we were younger. And we went at each other all day, every day. Didn't really get along until I left for Culver when I was like 16. So it was just, I guess, just going back to what we did as kids.
And it's funny because the competitiveness is something that comes through in several of them. And I mean, I did a story for Inside Lacrosse magazine a while ago about Zach. And, I talked to Roger, your dad, who, I know fairly well. He is my realtor, and I've known him for a while, so we get along quite well. And he was telling me for that story, I talked to Joe Hiltz too, about how competitive you guys were as youngins. And the story I know that Roger likes to share is just going to the car to go somewhere. The fight for the front seat, if it was available, was an epic struggle between the two of you.
Yeah, no matter what it was, we were always trying to one up the other one. Even in hockey, Josh was a goalie, so that one worked out a little bit more where he was taking shots from the both of us. But yeah, it was everything we did was a battle.
And I mean, Josh, as the older of the pair of you, is there a grain of truth to the whole? He was the young one, and he was kind of doing whatever you wanted him to do to try and curry favor, or was it more resistance?
Oh, I think it was 100% truth with me teaching him everything he knows about lacrosse. And so that part was 100% true.
That seems fairly obvious.
Yeah. No, it was, I think we just kind of embraced the competitiveness that we grew up with. And in the long run, it did help us both out. So we kind of just played off that a little bit.
And I mean, again, as much as it's a lot of fun, the videos are fun, kind of being a bit lighthearted about that competitive nature and the sibling rivalry and things. But I feel like Roger said, and you've both kind of hinted at things, that it was legitimately part of what drove you guys to be so good at the game, at everything.
In an early rhythm. Courier top corner.
Yeah, I think it did help out a ton in the long run, because we both just wanted to play lacrosse, and I think it was the competitive that brought us outside every single day, where it was never just like go play pass. It was, let's go see who can hit the crossbar the most amount of time. So we'd run to the backyard, and and I would win, and then Zach would get upset, and it would kind of be the same sort of thing every time, where it was always going outside to compete on something. So it just instilled the competitiveness in us from a very young age.
Really appreciate you guys taking the time to come on the show. It's been a lot of fun. I've had a lot of fun. I know a lot of people have really enjoyed watching the videos. So we just wanted to kind of share that with our audience, and appreciate you guys getting together, and look forward to seeing you both at a rink soon. Thanks so much for being on Lacrosse Link.
No problem. Thanks for having us, Stamper. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Thank you.
Joining me on Lacrosse Link, the finder of rings, Elton Francis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Very cool. I saw a recent Facebook post with you and a good friend of mine, Stu Sturparn, who coaches Serbia, and he coaches in Edmonton. And it was a story. I don't want to give too much away. I want you to just tell what happened when you went to work one day recently at it's the Mission thrift store in Edmonton, right?
Yeah. So basically, it was just almost like a regular day. We're a not-for-profit charity, so all of the stuff that we get is for donation. So organizations like the YMCA and rec centers around the city and stuff will their lost and found bins and stuff will accumulate, and then eventually, when that stuff is unclaimed for X amount of years or whatever, they'll donate it to stores like mine. So just a regular day going through a big box that came from one of these organizations, and at the very bottom was a 2007 national championship ring, the President's Cup ring, and it was awarded to the Outlaws in 2007, and a team that I'm kind of familiar with. I was drafted after my junior years to them. I never ended up playing for them, but something that stood out to me that, like, given the chance, I could probably get it back to its owner. So
I interject. It was the Sherwood Park Outlaws, right? Now the Beaumont Outlaws in the Edmonton area, right?
Yes, yeah, they were the Sherwood Park Outlaws. That would have been the time that they won it, and then they moved out to Beaumont later.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
Oh, that's all good. So I reached out to my coach at the time. He was Paul Rye. He was affiliated with that team, and he put me on to Stu Sturparn, who I also knew quite well. I played with his brothers Andrew and Thomas, and then they reached out to Drew, the owner of the ring, who lives in Calgary now, and said, "Hey, we found your ring, and we kind of want to send it home."
It's just such a cool story. I mean, I think, there was a big reaction to it when you posted it on Facebook, and it really speaks to the family nature of this game, because I saw it because I think Stu shared it. And I've known Stu from World Championships and things. And, you mentioned Paul Rye, and of course, Paul and his son, Tristan, who played for Australia. That's where I actually met them first, was at the Onondaga World Championships in 2015. Yep. And, of course, Tristan playing in the NLL, and Paul is involved in everything in lacrosse in the area. And it's just all these connections. I think everyone just saw the cool side of it. But what were your first thoughts when you saw this ring? Because it's like you said, obviously you knew when you realized what it was, you knew some people connected to it. But what was the first thing you thought when you pulled this little box out and opened it up, and there's a ring sitting in it?
For sure. The first thing I thought was, man, this is a big ring. The thing is, it's massive. Like, it took up like the whole palm of my hand. And then at first I kind of thought it was like a CFL ring or something. And then when I look close, it's got the big trophy, President's Cup down the side, and it's got the Outlaws written right across it. And that was the first thing that jumped out at me, was Outlaws. And then immediately it's just like you said, you start going through all those memories of all the people like Paul and Stu and playing with Tristan and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, I could actually, backtrack this back to where it has to go. So it was a very nostalgic feeling almost.
What was the process? Like you said, you reached out to Paul. Like, how long did it take from the time you found the ring until you had a pretty good idea who it belonged to and were able to start getting it back to him?
Yeah. So when I found it, I took some pictures and sent it to Paul. It took a couple days, and then he had Stu Stirparn's information for me. And then I reached out to him, and then a couple days after that, Stu popped up in the store, and he ended up taking a photo with me holding the ring, and he had Drew's information. So I've never even actually met Drew, or I don't know him, but all the other pieces, coming together like that was pretty awesome. And
Stu, the connection there is that Stu actually played on that
yes.
2007 Outlaws President's Cup championship team. So he obviously would know Drew from the connection of having played together.
Yep. Yeah, very cool.
What, when you heard back from Paul and he connected you with Stu, like at what point did it become clear? Like, hey, this belongs to Drew and we can actually make this happen? Because it's, when Paul gets back and he's like, oh, Stu was on that team. It's like stages of connections happening, right?
For sure. I guess right from the start, I kind of knew it would eventually get there. I didn't want any money for it or anything like that. Like the store didn't accept any money for it. We just wanted to ensure something like that would get back. Because I imagine for Drew, that would be a core memory, right? And finding out that it was stolen from him like a couple years after he had won it. So he thought it was long lost, you know what I mean? So being able to give it back, like that would be, that in itself is a core memory for me and something that, I'm not going to forget.
And you mentioned you haven't met Drew, but you have heard from him now, and just that he's got the ring. And what did he have to say?
He was just amazed and shocked. Yeah, I think his words were something along the lines of like, I can't believe the stars would align in such a way that would, help this ring get back to me. So being able to provide that for him was a pretty cool feeling.
You said you haven't been playing lacrosse for a few years now. Does this make you feel like it's karma? You should be getting back into playing?
Honestly, man, it's something that's definitely jumped out at me. And speaking on that kind of like family feel of the entire sport in general, like as soon as I posted that, I was getting messages and requests from people that I played with years prior that were all saying like, oh man, I hope everything is going good. And this brought back so many memories, and just a really cool feeling. So I definitely think that maybe it was the universe being like, hey man, you should kind of slide back in. And, I had actually had a few people from the Outlaws reach out and be like, hey man, we do practice on Tuesdays if you wanted to come and check it out. And so I was like, I'm going to have to dig the old gear out and see what I can do.
Just when you think that you're out, they draw you back in.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure.
What a cool story. Really appreciate you taking the time, Elton, to come and share it with us. And I just, as soon as I saw it, I was like, we've got to get Elton on here. We've got to talk about this. And so happy for Drew getting his ring back. And again, just I've got a big announcement coming about the big family of lacrosse. We're going to tease. We're not going to release right now what's going on, but this is just reinforcement that it is a big family and we're all connected.
Perfect, man. That sounds great. Thank you for having me.
Hi, this is Jaden with Al Anderson Source for Sports. Excited to tell you that we got all our new lacrosse product in for this upcoming season. Whether you're playing box or field, our lacrosse experts are going to make sure we get you into the right equipment to elevate your game. At Al Anderson Source for Sports, we know our stuff.
All right, lacrosse friends, I hope you enjoyed our visit with the Courier Brothers and the saga of Elton Francis discovering the lost President's Cup ring and returning it to its owner as much as I did. Now we are at the rundown this week and a lot going on. I am just back from Prague, from the village of Radetín for the Alice Robeski Memorial. Also, I was there for the E-Box and She-Box tournaments, and it was a great time. Travel precluded me getting into the studio to do the rundown. So it is coming to you via my home office. And the Alice Robeski was won by the LC Custodes, the home team, their first win since 2017. They beat the defending champion Glasgow Clydesiders in a terrific final game. The Turku Titans get their highest finish ever, despite only having 12 or 13 runners. Pretty short-sighted, but they played very smart lacrosse, were able to beat the Alberta Warriors in the third place game. Lots more excitement there, lots of great games. You can go and watch them all on the LCC Radatine YouTube channel. And I called a whole bunch of those games. You're going to want to see some of that exciting lacrosse that was taking place over in Radatine. Speaking of exciting lacrosse, the National Lacrosse League regular season has come to a close. The playoffs are all set. There was a three-way tie for first place in the West, all at 10-8. San Diego gets first place through tiebreakers, and they're going to host the Philadelphia Wings. We'll touch on that in a second. Calgary Roughnecks get second, and they play host to the Colorado Mammoth, whose playoff dreams they have shattered so many times over the last decade and a half or so. In the East, there was also a three-way tie. This was for fourth place at 9 wins and 9 losses. Albany gets fourth through the tiebreakers. Their reward, they go to Buffalo to face the first overall Bandits, and Philadelphia gets fifth. They cross over to the West and become the fourth seed. The other two teams in playoffs in the East, of course, the Toronto Rock finishing second. They will play host to the Halifax Thunderbirds in third. Now, the Swarm, they end up sixth out of the tiebreakers and miss the playoffs for the first time since they have moved to Georgia. So we're on to the first round, 4 games this weekend, and anything can happen. We'll see what does. Friday night with Halifax at Toronto and Colorado at Calgary. Saturday night sees Albany at Buffalo and Philadelphia at San Diego. We have a first for the East Coast Junior Lacrosse League. They have had their first ever women's box game. The Halifax Hurricanes beat the Sackville Wolves 8-4. Very exciting to see that league. We talked about it earlier when it was announced. It is now underway. Women are playing Junior A lacrosse in the East Coast in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick area. And it is very exciting to see the growth of the women's game booming across the globe. Some changes coming in the Canadian summer leagues. There have been updates to the rules. Major series lacrosse in Ontario and the WLA and BC, as well as the Junior A leagues in Ontario, Alberta, and British Columbia, are basically going with NLL rules. It creates more consistency across the board. It's good for the game. I think it's a better game. I used to be a bit of a diehard, a stickler for the old style. It was old school. Now I've come around to it's just better for the game to play these rules. It's a faster, more exciting, more skilled game. It's overdue, but it is good for the leagues to be implementing these changes at this point. So kudos to them for that. The rules, basically the big changes are 4-second count for a player with the ball in his own crease instead of 5. Not a huge change, but a little bit. You got to be a bit quicker. 8-second count to cross center at all times instead of 10, which was only in effect when you were shorthanded. Now it's 8 always to get over center. Over and back is always in effect, not just when you're shorthanded. So teams always have to stay on their offensive side of center once they get there. There are some changes to face-offs, moving the restraining lines out, moving the sticks apart, trying to speed up the face-off process. The team that has possession while there's a delayed penalty in effect can now get a reset. That's something that as soon as the ball was shot in the past, play was blown dead. If the ball goes in, it's a goal, but if not, whatever happens, play is blown dead. Makes no sense. The team now that gets possession, if they have possession, take a shot, they get the rebound, they get a fresh 30, they can go again, take advantage, and it penalizes teams for taking penalties and gives an advantage to teams that do not take them. So makes sense. It's in the spirit of the rules. Quick restarts with space. Now, when a possession play is called, you have to put the ball down right away, and you have to give the other team space to restart. Give them about 6 feet for them to get going. You can't check them right away. You can't be on top of them. You can't stand over the ball. You can't get in the way of them playing. You can't stand there holding it and pretend like you don't know what's happening. You put the ball down, you get out of the way. You can back off 6 feet and be prepared to play defense as soon as play is blown in, but it will get the game going. There will now be sudden death overtime instead of the 10-minute full overtime period, which would, so many times see a team score, the other team score, maybe finish with a tie. Now it will be sudden death overtime after regulation time finishes in a tie. And one other big one is if a team has 2 players in the penalty box serving penalties already, and they take another, instead of the penalties stacking and the third player with the penalty waiting until the first penalty expires and then theirs starts and they serve their 2 minutes or 5 minutes, wherever, then now it will be a penalty shot for a third infraction while there are two players in the box serving penalties. So again, very much in line with NLL rules that players are playing anyway. The Canadian Lacrosse League has already been doing this. These are pretty much the rules we've been using at the World Junior Championships. So, these leagues are coming on board with, I think, the future of the game, the better rules that make the game faster and more exciting. So good to see that happening. Of course, there was some testing of this last year in the Ontario Junior A mini season and the MSL Classic season. So obviously they liked what they saw. I think it's better for the game, and it's hard to disagree. Finally, we wrap up with CUFLA. The Canadian University Field Lacrosse Association is back to 14 teams. McGill officially back in the fold after they had to miss last year. And a pretty controversial decision made by the school that their team would not be able to return to competition. All other 13 teams were able to. They competed in 3 divisions instead of the usual 2, basically because of COVID protocols. But the Piscataway Cup was held, and it was terrific up at Nipissing. A very good tournament, and it's exciting to have McGill back. And shot clocks are coming to CUFLA. It was voted on to add shot clocks. That was abundantly clear that they were needed last season during the regular season and in the Piscataway Cup. So shot clocks will be coming to speed up play in CUFLA as well. That is it for your news from the world of lacrosse that you need right now here on Lacrosse Link. Thanks so much, lacrosse friends, for being with us. We'll see you next week.